Broadcasting basically live from a nearby harbor, it's your boy, Sharp Teeth Girl, and my co-host, Spinning Shark.
What's up?
So, today, we're gonna do a little bit of a discussion, a late discussion on the past two banners that I should have covered before. Namely, Albert, also known as Kliff, and our pal Curran and Heinwald, along with the 4-star guys, Odetta, and, well, there's no 4 stars for the Accursed Archives banner. Bit of a shame, but, well, that's just how it is. So, let's start things off with our pal Albert. Basically, after this event of Shadow of Valentia, he decides that he's going to leave the place and change his name to Albert, and now he's a Thunderswift Lord. So he's got a pretty decent kit. I actually like him a lot, but I haven't found the need to summon him during that time. That's why I didn't make a banner, because I have like 3 5-star light heroes. There's no reason for me to go and summon another one. But he is amazing. So, Spinning Shark, why don't you tell me what your thoughts are, since you actually own the hero?
Yeah, he's fantastic. He really shines on bosses with bigger hitboxes because his lightning burst will just keep hitting all of the little boxes, and he does tons and tons of damage. Who was it? KZ sent a picture of him on Jupiter hitting for like 60k non-crit or something crazy with the lightning burst crit. Lightning burst charged up with the Thunder's Impulse, which I'll get to in a second. So he does a ton of damage. One of the interesting things about the second skill, Thunder's Impulse, is that it charges by itself. When you attack, it doesn't actually charge that skill up. It just will naturally charge. So if you're running around, you have to dodge something, you're actually gaining charge on that skill, which is, it's both a pro and a con. I mean, if you're attacking and getting in good chains, you can fill things quickly, but if you have to run and dodge, he's still gaining charge on his skill. It increases his strength by, I believe, 20%. And it's for
25%. 25%.
Oh yeah, that's the level 1 version, but it's for 20 seconds, which is a lot of the strength buffs last for less time. So that's a very, very strong skill. And the rest of his kit, you know, he's just got the typical poison res, and he does have a passive electrically charged, which makes him do even more damage because it gives him 25% more strength. But basically, he's just, you want to lightning burst people. When Thunderous Impulse comes up, you activate it, and you just keep blasting away. It's a pretty simple but very effective character.
Well, Thunderous Impulse is interesting in that it it takes 40 seconds to charge. The SP cost is like 160,000, and it regens by itself for 4,000 per second. Did the math, it's 40 seconds. And now, you can't just be like, oh yeah, you know, it's only going to be like 20 seconds I have to wait after you get the first one. No, you have to wait until the skill finishes activating. After the 20 seconds where you're electrified, you have to wait for 40 seconds again. So it does create a bit of a gap in terms of its DPS in the middle. But otherwise, though, it is really good. That's the whole thing, though. I think he benefits the most from a sword with a weapon skill on it. Although he does destroy that wonderful Manticore pretty handily with that new Fury Break weapon. I've seen some good work done. I use Odetta myself because I managed to luck out and pull a 4-star Odetta, and that has some really good results. Though Albert is probably in an entirely new class when it comes to breaking things altogether once he has his charge. I kind of wish I have him, so I might just summon on the Gala banner to get him. But that's about my thoughts on Albert, or Kliff. Well, let's call him Kliff. I like Kliff.
The only other thing I can think of is, and this is a trait that comes up again with Curran, his lightning burst will sort of guide him to the enemy. So you can be kind of far away, and it will go off, and then he'll jump to where the enemy is. It makes it easier to, like, certain abilities, like I think Luis's, when you shoot her stupid poison arrow, it just goes in a straight line, and if the enemy moves, it misses. But his will actually guide you towards the enemy, which is very nice because you're actually getting a higher, uptime on your skills. You're landing them instead of having some of them miss. So I think that's a pretty cool feature for Albert too.
Well, I actually kind of have some doubts on that too. There are some moves that moves forward, and sometimes that will cause you to miss in of itself. Like, for example, Marishiten uses her skill, she dashes forward. If she does not connect, well, then she misses the attack. So it also depends on the enemy's movement as well. I don't know. Have you have any problems with missing the attack if, like, say, the monster decides to move?
Because it's like it doesn't like move you in like a set direction. It just guides to the enemy. It will like always track where they are. So I actually can't recall it missing ever. Maybe it has happened. I'm trying to remember now, but I can't recall it.
Like, can you imagine like a monster dodge rolling away the last second? You use it at a bad time, that kind of thing. So even if it does guide, maybe it'll guide towards where they formerly were before they dodge roll or something like that. I guess I'll call it dodge roll. But you haven't seen it happen once, huh?
Nope. The only scenario I can think of where he would miss would be like when the dragons fly off the screen to do something. I mean, you wouldn't use them in this battle, but like when H-Broom will like fly off the screen, if you use it and then she flies off the screen, it's obviously not gonna.
Yeah. But all right. Do you think there's anything else we can talk about with our buddy Owl?
Nope, that's about it. He's just very, very strong, does a ton of damage.
Yes. The 4-strike is really good too. The 4-strike increase, I think that's what makes him better than Odetta to me, because of the fact that that 4-strike is like 50% strength increase. That's no laughing matter. And then you have that lightning burst and running over a place. It's really, really scary. It's just that, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit unfortunate that he only has one active skill, but then again, Gala Ronzo also only has one. I was just, kind of hoping that something like Thunderous Impulse would be like a side skill that you carry on the side, like under abilities, rather than taking up your entire skill slot. Yeah. Now, one of the problems I had with Naveed is that he's really dependent on his... well, not dependent, but it takes up an attack slot. It slows him down. The Radiant Bauble is defense buff, but luckily, though, it is a defense buff, so you could use Strength Double buff to go with that. And Strength Double buff is pretty nice, especially when we talk about the next banner with First Rate Hospitality. That's what it was called. Yeah, First Rate Hospitality is really good, but we can talk about that when we get. So, I mean, other than that, really, honestly, there's not much else to say. Odetta is a pretty straightforward character. Does damage and reduce your defense. That's her main skill. And then her second skill heals, but also provides strength. So these guys have a lot of DPS potential to go with them. And I've seen them top off some pretty charts. So, I mean, I kind of regret that I didn't pull on that, because if I recall correctly, there's also a Wormprint that buffs the strength skills as well. So Wormprints in of itself have been kind of like getting power creep. Well, I wouldn't call it power creep. I think the older versions are still kind of, but there's a lot of new options now. So now it's actually worth polling for Wormprints. You don't get mad when you see Wormprints. Actually good to have. Right now I'm actually running low on Wormprints to use, because since the double Wormprint thing has been off, I don't have enough. I've got like 4 characters I need to feed now, and I don't have 8 really good Wormprints. I have like 4. That's the problem I have. But other than that, I mean, like, yeah, that's pretty much it about Odetta. Odetta is like very simple, very plain, kind of like Curran that we'll be talking about in a bit, in that they're basically like 3-star kits, but runs at a 5-star level. Even for Odetta, who's 4-star, she's really, really good. You're really blessed to get something like that. I mean, yeah, sure, Albert is probably a little bit better, but Odetta, I think
on the DPS simulator, she's actually higher than him.
Well, that's because of team DPS, though.
She has that buff time passive, which increases the buffs by duration by 20%, which is great for herself, considering she has a strength buff. So hers goes up to 18 seconds, which is, like we were saying, Albert's is 20. 18 is good, so...
That's really good. But anyway, that's about it for Odetta and Albert. I don't even remember who the star guy is. He did not make an impact on. Why don't we go and move on to the next one then, so we can get. So the next one, the Cursed Archives. I really love the story, and the characters themselves are very interesting. Now, I suppose we could start things off with Curran, since we already talked about him a little bit. So tell me more about your experience with the dude, because I'm kind of like I said earlier, I'm kind of like not that impressed. I mean, he gets the job done, but he just feels so 3 stars. I don't know. Do you feel something else about him that is worth like really investigating?
There are a couple things. So, first of all, I only did a single 10 pull on this because this is still not that far removed from the Chocolatiers one, and I had Sazanka already promoted up 47 circles, so I actually wasn't trying to get him. But because I have Sazanka built up as well already and got him, I was able to compare them well. And his main edge will probably be his co-op skill being 15%. We don't know what the requirements are going to be when Jupiter rolls around, but it's probably going to be high, so there's a good chance that he may be useful for that. Other than that, they're both very, very good DPS, so he's got a simple kit, and you really can't go wrong with him. The only other thing I can think of is that his range on his first skill, not only does it have the same thing that Albert has, where you sort of lunge a bit, it hits such a large area. It's very, very, like, compared to Sazanka, who just spins in a circle around herself, his goes much further out. So it really can hit things far away. So he could be very useful for like more farming things where you just got to run around maps, and he just has good range. But other than that, if you had Sazanka already, there was no real reason to pull here. For him anyways. The other guy, as we'll talk about in a second, was an interesting character, but he's just a very solid and simple character, like you were saying. He's good. He's going to get the job done, but he's not going to be flashy.
Yeah. Well, just like with Sazanka, I think that he also kind of suffers from having a third slot kind of wasted. I mean, he has Overdrive Punisher, amazing. He has Paralysis Resist, of course. And then there's a Last Offense. I mean, I suppose I could see that being very useful right in the beginning of a high Jupiter job, and then he'll get really hurt, and then he can run in with like 50% attack strength for those 15 seconds. But after that, it's done. Still, I think it's a little bit better than Sazanka in that reward, because Sazanka is just sleep. If you can't sleep the enemy you're fighting, it's completely useless. So I think Curran has the edge on that as well. Now, Sazanka, while it doesn't have Punisher, Overdrive Punisher, it does have the nice thing where she has strong Force Strike and ability. She can break. I think she can break faster than Curran, which I think is valuable in of itself. I mean, bleed we all already know about, but breaking someone is going to contribute to team DPS quite handily. So I feel like I don't want to say that she's better than Curran, and I don't want to say that Curran is better than him. So that it's really interesting the way that these two characters interact with each other. It's like as you actually have options. It's like you actually have options instead of something that are just like outright better than the other. That's what I like the most about this game. I feel like that's why I find my investments actually protected in a way. Oh, it does feel kind of bad being compared to a 4-star character, but this 4-star character is kind of limited, and yeah, I'm fine with this too, because for having 4 stars that can compete with 5 stars, like Odetta, for example, is very, very good. It's healthy. It makes it so that even free-to-play players can contribute. You're spending money because you want to spend money, rather than you're spending money because you have to spend money, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And also, like, you know, look what happened to me with the Chocolatiers and how much, I think it was over 50k Diamantium. If you're trying to gun for a 4-star as your adventurer, like that's who you want, it's not going to take you 50k Diamantium to get them. It's almost impossible mathematically for that to happen. Like, yeah, it could take a lot, but if you save up, you'll get your 4-star. So it really makes it much more accessible for free-to-plays who can, you know, they give out a ton of Wormite. You can save up and get to 20 or 30k pretty easily.
Nope, I'm sitting on 40k myself, although that's because I haven't used my Diamant. I haven't used anything in a while. Okay, so that being said, now we must move on to the next character, Heinwald. And the reason why I didn't spend on the banner is because, while I do like the way he's set up, a hybrid healer. He's very good as a hybrid healer. The best. I mean, you have to consider that, though, that your real competition is, what's his face? The hat dude and Sophia. who have some really, really terrible skills. That their healers are just not damaged people in general in this game. It's not like how it is in Fire Heroes, well, recently anyway. But when I think about him, I think about that he's probably the star of the banner, but I'm just gonna outright say this. Despite the fact that he's a great hybrid healer, he's an excellent character, he's just not that great as a healer in general. I mean, his design is really good, but he falls short as a primary healer for that same reason. Now, part of the reason why I took my time with this video is because I wanted to be sure. So I ran with a couple of Heinwald when he came out, and to see how well he heals, and my suspicions were correct. So, see, like, my Ieyasu, for example. My Ieyasu is really built with, like, 2k HP, full DPS gears. So when Heinwald heals me, I gain 156 heals twice, equaling to 16% of my health. That is when he's capped and he uses his Abyssal Connection. So, on top of this heal, and his actual scaling healing, which that dude healed me for like 218 of the scale heal, which totals up to 530. So that's with Abyssal Connection. Without it, he could only heal for like 374, or something like that I calculated. So you can see the problem with this, right? He can only heal me for a quarter of my health each time. And the worst part is that the dude that was healing me was actually pretty decently geared. He had a Needhog ready, and so even if his healing scales, like his scaling heals doubles, okay? He'd still only heal me for 748. So I find that to be pretty deplorable. But Sharp Fangirl, Heinwald's heal is on a 3,352 SP cost cooldown, so he can just heal again and everything be alright. That is true, I don't doubt that. But 3,352 doesn't equal instant. He gets it fast, yes, but he still needs to take his sweet ass time to hit the enemy a couple times, and then cast Abyssal Connection before he can heal again. So it's really, really troublesome if you were to take extra hits during that window. 500 HP is not going to do much. So you can argue that, yeah, you know, like, you can like avoid attacks if you play well, but there's no playing well with high dragons when they do the Pillar and Chaser combo, which I have no doubt will appear again, over and over again, or some other nasty nonsense that they throw at you down the line, especially since it's practically unavoidable that they'll have to make the next fight harder because of us getting double Wormprints. Not that, you know, High Brunhilde being stronger wasn't already a trend. So, if Pillar were to take a good chunk of your health, I fear that Heinwald won't heal enough to top up for the second half. Naturally, this is where the partner Curran comes in. If you were to shore up your defenses so that Heinwald's heal can help you survive, then that would be good. But Curran doesn't have a shield skill. He has to rely on his defense talent. So you need to find someone else to help you reduce the damage you take further, and even then that's not quite guaranteed. 500 is still kind of awkward. So I find him in general awkward as a result, because higher end content healing is more about reaction than a constant stream of healing. It'd be nice if Abyssal Connection gives a defense buff or something instead, but it gives strength. So what I think would be really cool if he would have that is if he has like a longer cooldown for his skill, but a stronger heal or damage, or he has like this charge system where he could save up like 2 or 3 instances of his heals to use when burst healing is necessary. That's when I think would make him more attractive to summon for me. But as he is now, I find that I could use him in like day-to-day content and all that stuff, but I might find him awkward to use when we have to fight in High Jupiter and something horrible happens. I can imagine it happening too, because High Jupiter is splashes all those attacks all over the place, even at the basic levels. So it could be one of these things where you have to take repeated damage from him because he just covers the whole map with it. It could be one of those things. So if you want to be future-proof, I think that you don't really need Heinwald, because Cleo is already there. And Cleo has a lot of damage mitigation thanks to the fact that she has the defense buff, and well, she has a good chunk of healing when she uses her skill 1, which is I think 108 or 100 something heal recovery potency. That's a basic potency, but Anyway, so having a good heal, a good mitigation is really all you need for high dragons. Because as you've seen from using Thaniel for all this time, even though Thaniel is pretty terrible, he was able to do his job because of this. And now we have 2 Wormprints, he can equip Chocolate Eaters, and he can block even more damage. That's something that Cleo can do as well in the beginning of a match. Or, you know, in a particularly important situations where, say, right in the beginning, Jupiter uses an attack, and what if he just comes up to you and does an uppercut? Hey, you know, you would actually survive if you actually have some extra defenses. So that's one of these things that I think that Heinwald is lacking. He's good as doing extra damage, but he's a little bit iffy when it comes to healing. Now, I've heard talks about getting 2 Heinwald to participate in one of these fights. You would increase your DPS, and you would have good healing. That's true, but the problem is then you just run another DPS. You know, I feel like another DPS would probably make up for more than that. Abyssal Connection and the Call of Chaos combo is pretty good, but it doesn't give him like crazy damage either. It doesn't give him crazy healing, doesn't do him crazy damage, and he has to wait. You have to sit for the animation to work. That's why I'm not impressed with Heinwald. I like him, I like his design, but I'm just not impressed by him. That's why I have chose to avoid the banner altogether. Now, another thing is that the weapons for Dark Healers are really, really terrible, so there's no way to make up for it. The 3-star one is a shield for himself. That's whatever, dude. 4-star, you increase your strength by like 35% for 5 seconds. What good would that do? I guess you can do a little bit of extra damage with Call of Chaos, but the problem is Call of Chaos's healing is capped, so that's not good either. Then you have the 5-star Caduceus, which is just 755 shadow damage to surrounding enemies with a huge chunk of SP cost. So the best you can do with him is that you come into the fight and you just burst some damage, and that's it. And that's just not what a healer does. You don't just walk up to someone and just burst some damage. You want to make sure that you keep your allies alive. So he as a healer just doesn't cut it for me. But that's about it for my rant on Heinwald. I don't know if you have anything else to add from your observation with running with him. Let me know.
Yeah, I was skeptical too, and the problem is, like when you're saying, bring 2 Heinwalds. Well, now Dark has a bunch of very strong DPS between Sazanka, Curran, and don't forget Yasu. So just and Botan also very high up there. So just you just take one of them instead of doing 2 Heinwalds. Like it just seems like it's a more of a meme type of thing than would actually be like a super strong strategy.
I feel like it's better to run with a safer healer. Now, you could say that, you know, things would get so easy down the line that we could just run that, because he's like, I guess he's like our first observation of Valentine's Hildegard, in which that, you know, you bring in to help speed up a run. But Valentine's Hildegard just so happens to have that damage mitigating beam, which Heinwald does not have. If he has that, then he's good, but he doesn't have that either. He just isn't a healer. He's a hybrid. That's the problem with him. And so I would stick with Cleo for the time being and see what we would go. Well, that's about it for me with him. You got anything else?
I do want to mention, I guess we just focused on adventurers, but this banner had that interesting dragon, and when I first read it, I thought it was absolutely terrible because the strength buff on it is conditional on your HP. And there was a shield. It says it's a one-use shield, but from what I have heard, that shield actually can proc multiple times throughout the fight, which makes a big difference.
I actually have video evidence of it. I can even show you.
Yeah, so that makes it a lot more appealing, and I kind of wish I had gotten this dragon. If I can choose Marashijan, I'd probably just do that, but otherwise I would consider picking this for my dragon, because I would love to try testing out this shield with Curran so that you can possibly save his last offense thing, which is like a monstrous buff, but is just gonna get immediately knocked into that and triggering right at the beginning of a high dragon fight. If you can somehow absorb and be able to save that trigger for later, I think that could be like a very interesting type of build strategy. I don't know if it's going to work, and I also can't even play around with it. But
I think that's not what I would not sacrifice 10% of my strength for it. See, the problem with Nyarlathotep is that that strength is conditional. So, I mean, I guess it would be good if you get healed up right away, which is great, and you got your last bulwark, which you can keep using, but well, if your health is low, then your last offense pops without the strength. Now, I don't think last bulwark would block the attack. It would just gives you a shield that allows you to protect you after the fact. So you end up running with last offense with no strength. And then you have to get a heal to go back up there again. And I just don't like this setup. Honestly, I feel like the resistance dragons, such as Gilgamesh, for example, is really good. That I would be willing to sacrifice 10% of my strength for. But this, not only do I have a condition on me, but, well, what if I just simply get one-shotted? That's what happens. You can't run you can't run Heinwald with this. This is something for melee, strictly melee only, because there's no...
Oh yeah, I was saying with Curran. That's who I was.
Yeah, I know. But then you have, that situation that I just talked about. Unless you get quickly healed. I don't know. I would like to have at least played around with it. But it is cool to have a shield multiple times, but I don't know how strong it actually would be. Well, I mean, it would allow you to block certain mechanics. 60% of your maximum HP. It's not exactly a small amount. It's pretty high. But the problem is that you have to dip to below 30 to activate it each time is a bit iffy for me.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it, if you have to get down that low for it to trigger the shield, then the last offense is going to get immediately consumed, and then you can't save it, so that won't.
Yeah. So, I mean, another thing is that if you play well, of course we talked about playing well before, that could very well be a thing where you don't need it. Of course, chaser and combos and stuff like that could just be less than 60% of your HP, then you end up blocking with that shield. That could be good. That could be good for surviving additional attack or further mechanics. But I don't know. I still kind of feel like I much rather run the resistance instead of relying on a shield that pops up when I'm 30% or below. I just don't like it. It feels too gimmicky. I mean, I guess I could see it working, but I just...
And Marashitan is so good, so...
I know, that's the problem. Marashitan is great. Does chunks of damage and more, thanks to that stupid bleed. Of course, she's also limited, so there's that, but... It just doesn't cut it for me. You have to lose more attack strength, so it just doesn't cut it for me. I don't know, sad to say. Well, do you have anything else you want to add for our Dragon Pal, or should we go on?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, besides the first-rate hospitality we talked about earlier with strength double buff and stuff like that. What was a 5-star Wormprint for that? Nah, I actually forgot. It was the one with the girl getting a teddy bear. Oh, choice. The fleeting girl. There we go. He has last recovery though. That's cool. That's cool. That's like the upgraded version of our of the one we got from the event. So that's really useful for autoing like Imperial Onslaughts and such. Healing for 12% max HP every like 4 seconds for 20 seconds is great. It's beautiful, and it works when your HP is dipped below 30%. So there you have it, and you can use Nyarlathotep for that. Not to mention it comes with a shield prep that it comes with it, so you get to nullify a love tap because it's only 20% of your maximum HP, but it's there. It's there. What if that little tiny attack just so happens to give you all the worst status effects in the world? Well, there's that. I mean, like, even for like a high Midgard, when he charges towards you, he bumps into you, you fall on the ground, you're stunned for like a second or two. That's kind of annoying. What if he does something else like Ren right afterwards? You might just die from that. So That's actually pretty useful. I mean, this Wormprint is not like the greatest thing in the world. I would still much rather run something a little more direct, but I mean, I could see it being decent for day-to-day stuff. I mean, there could be a meme build you could do with last recovery and shield prep, but I just much more prefer the practical things. I guess I'm just a more practical person.
No, and you, the first thing you said, I completely agreed with, which was that it's a good backline Wormprint for like autoing stuff, which is a lot of play. You can just auto things, and now that we have the 2 Wormprint chains, you just need so many more Wormprints. So if I had it, I would definitely.
Nope. Well, that's about it for these 2 banners that I've skipped. I mean, yeah, you can understand why I kind of skipped them. They just weren't all that necessary. Now, if I were to pull on Gala, then, you know, these things would randomly pop up. Then I could find them useful. But that's the problem with this game, or this Scala summoning in general. It just makes me not want to summon, because I'm going to end up getting these things as pity break. Random pity break, mind you, but I'm going to end up getting them. So unless I really, really need something from a specific banner, there's just no reason to pull on a banner outside of a Gala. And even then, this Gala is kind of like, I guess we can talk about it if necessary, if we haven't already covered it on the last time when we talked about New Year's, the 6 months anniversary thing. And I guess that's pretty much it then.
Rantle, yeah.
All right then. I guess we'll end it with that. I thank you all for watching. Until next time.